What's going on, peeps? It's Wrath here, hanging out today, playing some Monster Legends. I want to thank you guys so much for coming out with me today. If you liked the video, don't forget to smash that thumbs up button and show your support. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe as well. Alright guys, today we've got some stuff to talk about. We always got stuff to talk about, right? Usually, most of the time. But Wrath did a couple things whilst you were away. One, Wrath's got Alex Bone hatching up. It's going to take a little bit, but whatevs. It happens. Alright, we've got, up in a viscerally type area place, we've got a Trilops here hatching up. We have a Trilops. It's going to be good. Alright, in our vault, we've picked up 42 demise cells. Accidentally. I was supposed to go for 40. Clicked one extra. Whatevs. Alright, picked up some more incognita cells. Got her to 60, so that's good. The next cell week comes around, I can get her to 100 cells, and we'll go ahead and craft her up. It's going to be great. That's most of what we did, I'm pretty sure. Oh no, we did one other thing that I recommended you guys never ever do. Alright, we did it. We did it because we do things that we shouldn't do sometimes. Alright? We bought a Kalik. Alright? It happened. Okay? She was on offer for 249 gems. And I said, you know what? You know what? I'm impatient. Alright? I don't want to wait for 4 more cell events or 3 more cell events to come and go before I can get my Kalik, because you kind of need her. She is good. She is a winged Niall, and my wing category is a little weak right now. You know, all I have is Greedy Dragon, Arch Knight, and Darkskull. Arch Knight and Darkskull are okay once they're ranked, but before they're ranked, they kind of suck, let's be honest. They're not that great. Greedy Dragon's pretty solid. I like my Greedy Dragon, but there's been a lot of winged wars lately, and I don't have a denial for winged, and that kind of sucks. In every book, it's a good practice to have at least 1 damage dealer, 1 deny, and 1 support, if it's possible. Sometimes, I don't know if it's, I think in every book that's a possibility. It should be. But that gives you, like, no matter what war gets pulled, at least in one of your categories, you can run a denial, a support, and a damage dealer to help balance your teams out. Now, this was not possible in the last couple wars, the all-light wars, because all-light teams don't really have denials. I mean, Blind's kind of a deny, but not really. Anyways, just wanted to go through that really quick. I did spend 200, you can see, I'm almost out of gems. I blew a lot of gemage, but we're doing okay. We got some cells going, that's what's important. Turn those gems into legendary monsters. It's good stuff. So, something else we're going to do, alright? War in Heaven. War in Heaven. We got Seraphim down to 3 gems. We've got 4 days and 7 hours left in the event, which means we should be able to get Ragnael out. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to use 3 gems and go ahead and just finish that up, right? Right. Now, sometimes this doesn't work. Sometimes this does work. Actually, should we? We probably should, because we're going to need this anyway in a little bit, right? Right. So we're going to go ahead over here to Giragast. I got one of these from my breed earlier. Go ahead and finish that for 3 gemages, like so. Just going to sell it off because I don't really need it. And give me a breed point. You wouldn't, because you hate me. But we need that slot open so that I can get some breed points for Ragnael, because that's what we're going to do next. We're just going to go ahead and just, I don't want to gem it done. It's only 1 freaking breed point. We're not going to waste 3 gems there. But a little tip for the War in Heaven. A lot of people have trouble getting points breeding like Fire Swords, Treezards, and Pandakins. I've always used, not really always, but most of the time I use a Treezard and Rockilla to breed the Rarars and the Tarzapes, and that usually gives me my breed and egg point. It's only a 6-minute breed at the most, so it's still not super long. Just pop it in when you're doing something else, come back, and then once you get your breed and egg point, start your Thunder Eagle again. It works pretty well. That's how I've been doing things. And so far, it's done me pretty good. Okay, so what we're going to do today, if you've read the thumbnail, you already know, and hopefully you read thumbnails because that's important, you know what I'm saying? But we're going to analyze 3 monsters in the event. Alright, we're going to go through the new ones, Ragnael, Azuriel, and Remiel. Alright, we're going to go through all 3 of those guys, talk about them a little bit, and see what's good with them. So right now, here it comes, peeps. Alright, so first up here, we've got Ragnael. Before we jump into talking about him, just want to clear some stuff up on why I don't do analysis on like the first day of events and things like that. Alright, so back in the race, when Montezuma came out, I made an analysis of him like halfway through the race, because like it's probably safe to do it by now, and it wasn't. Alright, they nerfed the crap out of him like the day after I made my video, and I hate that. I hate that when that happens, because it makes me look like an idiot. I don't like that. No one likes to look like that. So, in races, generally the best practice is to wait until the monster is actually released and then talk about them. But for events like this, for War in Heaven, people can have this monster already. People can already have You know, like during mazes, like they can already get the last monster the first day if they want to. So generally the wiki is really updated fast on those. So I should be safe to do an analysis now. I don't think I'm in any jeopardy of them changing stuff. So that's why I waited until now to do this analysis. Alright, with that out of the way, Ragnael. Alright, let's start with him. So first up, we're just going to brush over the stats, the trait, the skills, and all that good business. Then we're going to try to talk about how he fits into the light category and stuff like that. Alright? Alright. So first up, his power, 3,432, which is an absolutely fine stat for dealing damage. Works great. Anything over 3,400, usually pretty good at it. His life, 29,255, so he's got a decently tanky life stat. Not crazy high, but it's definitely not low, so that's good. His speed, 3,454, so he's actually pretty fast. That's not bad. That's not a bad speed stat at all. Max gold per minute sucks at 155, but, you know, whatevs. The trait, Celestial. This is a new trait for these three monsters, and it's actually a really good trait. It's immunity to stun, immune to mega stun, and immune to bleeding. So that's nice. Anytime you can get a trait with an immunity to a crowd control effect like stun, freeze, possess stuff, that's great. So it's a really good trait. I think it's really good. There we go. All right, so his special skill, Angelic Conversion. It's a 60 power AoE special damage, which is great, but it also possesses all the enemies. Now this is unique among light monsters. I do not believe any other light monster has AoE possess. I could be wrong. Fact check me. I don't think I'm wrong though. I think this is unique, so that's cool. Definitely cool. Now jumping over to his skills, we've got Consecrated Grounds. This is a 30 power special damage AoE, and this is going to apply a random negative status effect to each enemy. That's not bad. That's definitely not bad. It can go either way. Sometimes you get really trashy negative effects on people, but sometimes it works really good. So this is one you might want to pick up, you might not. Up to you. Moving over, we got Blessed Light. Blessed, I guess you could say. Blessed sounds better. Blessed Light. Alright, whatever. Anyways, this is a 45 power light-based AoE with a blind attached to it, but not only a blind, it also removes all positive status effects from the enemies. So it's almost a denial move. Blind's not super great at deny, but it can help in certain cases. But the remove positive status effects is great for a light monster, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But one you might want to pick up. 45 power is always great. It is light-based and it is blind, so that's not bad. Alright, moving over, we've got Demonic Cleanse. This is a AoE 40 power, special damage again, so unresisted, that's always great. This is going to give damage reduction to all targets, and it also removes all their positive status effects again. Another good thing to note on this skill is only a 1-turn cooldown. That's pretty crazy for a 40 power AoE. It's not bad at all. It's pretty good. So definitely a solid skill, probably one you're going to want to pick up. Moving on down, we've got the Demon Smite. Ooh, smite the demons. Very... I don't know what's going on right now. Anyways, very heavy special damage to one enemy, and it gives it damage reduction. 0 cooldown, 60 power special damage. Very strong for a damage dealing role, not to mention with the debuff of a damage reduction. That's not bad. That's not bad. Moving over, we've got Repentance. This is a really good one too. It's a 55 power single enemy attack with 0 cooldown, and it's another random negative effect. So this could turn into a single target stun, a single target freeze, single target possess, you know, down the list. And it's spammable. It means every turn you can hit this again and try to pick up a new negative effect. So definitely not a bad one. I think it's a pretty solid skill. Moving over one more time, we've got Divine Flash. This is a 65 power single enemy attack, 0 cooldown, and it can apply blind to the enemy. It is light-based, so in a light-based war, it's not quite as powerful. So now let's talk about him a little bit. What's Ragnael like? Where does he fit into the light category? Is he worth getting at all? Right? These are all good questions. I would say absolutely worth getting this guy. He's a very solid monster. He's a lot like Lao Lao, okay? In terms of he does some heavy damage with his skills and stuff like that. He does have some heavy AoEs as well. The difference between him and Lao Lao is more of a straight-up damage. Okay, she's going to put bleeding, stam leak, and stuff like that on you. This guy instead is more of a supporting damage dealer as well. Like he debuffs the enemies, he strips off their positive effects, and in Light Wars, that is huge. I don't know if you guys remember a couple of wars back in the Light Wars, but General Ingvar is super annoying to fight. You know, because he's always popping health regen, stam regen on the enemy team, and if you don't have a way to clear those off, that can be a huge problem for your team. This guy says, screw all that noise, I will destroy that. And the good thing is, he not only follows General Ingvar in the light category, he's also following General Ingvar in the winged book as well. So he can actually counter him twice. So I think he's a very solid monster just for those two reasons. Alright, So touching back one more time on the special skill, AoE Possess, that's very great for light monsters. I don't know. There may be a couple light monsters immune to Possess, but I don't think it's a very common trait. Most of them are immune to a blind. So very solid special. I think it's a very good special skill. Now, runing this guy. How should you rune him when you get him? There's a couple ways you can rune him. You can obviously run this guy as damage dealer, and he'll do absolutely fine for you. I would probably run mine that way. And to do that, obviously, any combination of team speed and speed or strengths, mixed up together. 1 team speed, 2 strength. If you have lower level runes, if you have really high level runes, you could do 2 team speed and 1 strength. Or, 2 speed and strength, whatever you want to run it like. I prefer team speeds personally. That's just me. But you can also run this guy in kind of a supporting role. You can run him with 3 team speed, and he'll work just fine. Because as support monster, he'll be able to debuff your enemies. And that's always nice. He's not much of a buffing supporter, like giving you health regen and stuff, but he can cripple the enemy team. And that's always nice. So he can be run either way. I wouldn't recommend 3 speed as deny, because AoE blind's not the best deny. But whatevs. So there is Ragnael for you guys. Now we got to move on. Alright, so next up here is Azuriel. She's actually really cool, but let's jump in straight away, go to the stats, the skills, and all that good business, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. So first up, her stats, the power, 3,454, so another great damage dealing stat. Works just fine for damage dealer. Probably her recommended role, if you ask me. Life, 29,858, so again, a pretty tanky life stat, not super high, but it's definitely not glass cannon level, so that's always good. Speed, 3,465, which is actually a very respectable speed stat. That's not bad at all. It's tied with like demise and stuff like that, so it's pretty good. Pretty good. Moving on down, the gold per minute, 244. Not a super important stat, but whatever. We go over it every time just because. The trait, Celestial again, you already know, stun, mega stun, bleeding, ain't gonna happen, so that's good. Special skill, Angelic Support. 70 power, AoE, metal-based damage that sunburns and bleeds the enemies. That's a really powerful combo, okay? Because both of those status effects are blocked by very few monsters. Obviously, bleeding is now blocked by Abomination and Celestial, but sunburn's blocked by nobody, really. And those are 2 good status effects to play together. I mean, bleeding's a power loss, and sunburn's a little bit of a mini daze, so that's not bad. It's not bad at all. Moving over to her skills, we've got the Holy Blaze, a 40 power AoE special base damage that applies sunburn to all enemies. Again, probably a skill you're taking, okay? AoE sunburn's very powerful. I think, is it Patreon and Bella Ball the only other 2 that have it? I could be wrong there, but it's still a pretty exclusive group of monsters that have the sunburn status effect. Very good status effect. Moving over, we've got the Corrupt Retribution. This is a AoE 45 power metal-based damage. This is an AoE bleed. So again, that's a power debuff to all the enemy monsters, plus, damage over time to the health. So solid skill again. Very good damage dealing role so far, right? Right. Now moving down, we've got Divine Judgment. I do believe it's spelled incorrectly on the wiki. I think it's D-I-V-I-N-E, but whatever. We'll call it Divine Judgment. It's a single enemy, 55 power, 3 cooldown skill, but it activates the cooldowns on the enemy team, or the enemy monster that you hit. Single target. Some people may see that and think, ooh, deny. No. I would never run this as deny. You can, but it's a very specialized role, and we'll talk about that in a second. Moving over, we've got the Spiritual Slash. This is a single target, 65 power. I believe it's a bleed. Yes, bleed to the enemies. That's good. 65 power is a very heavy hitting skill. It is metal damage, so in a metal-based war, not as powerful as it could be, but still strong with a bleed attached to it, so that's good. Moving over one more time, we've got the Heavenly Flair. This is a single target, 60 power, special damage skill that applies sunburn to the enemy. Sunburn's, obviously, like I said before, it's a great status effect. I would probably run that skill over the Spiritual Slash in my own personal preference, but it's up to you. Alright, so let's talk about it a little bit. So, obviously from her skill set, you can see this is probably a more damage-oriented monster. It doesn't have a lot of supporting characteristics, and it only has 2 deny-based moves, but one of them suck. It's like Divine Judgment, but instead of activating just the enemy's cooldowns, it also activates her own. So that's a bad skill. Obviously, as you can see, none of her skills up here have a 0 cooldown. Maybe some of the first-tier skills have them, but first-tier skills generally suck, usually. So I never really include them unless they're actually worth mentioning. So I left that completely off the list because activating your own cooldowns is just not very good. Now, earlier I said on Divine Judgment that you could build her as deny, and you can, but it's mainly just to counter Timerian. That's it. So it's a very specialized build aimed directly at making Timerian useless. Alright, that's the whole idea. Because in a metal-based war, you could run Azuriel with 3 speed. Obviously, your team speed supporting her, and she would be much faster than Timerian. So she would go first, activate his cooldowns, and then Timerian becomes useless. Pretty much, right? Exactly, so you can't do nothing. So I probably wouldn't do that. It's too much of a specialized setting. It's only useful in Metal Wars. It's just, I don't know. I think she's much better run as damage. You know what I'm saying? Also, as you noticed, the Bleed and the Sunburn are also 2 status effects that bosses don't block. So she makes a great adventure map boss killer, premier dungeon monster killer, because bleeding is a 10% dot, damage over time, and I believe Sunburn's 15%. So that's a 25% life reduction each turn when you get both those on somebody. So great for killing bosses and stuff like that. I think it's good for. So obviously, in my personal recommendation, a damage dealer. Always damage dealer. So, 1 team speed, 2 team speed, a strength or 2 strength, maybe a speed and 2 strength if you want the speed runes. I generally lean towards team speeds. That's just my personal preference, but that's how I'd run her, and I think she's a great monster for that. Unfortunately, you won't be picking her up unless you spend some money. So, that kind of sucks. Now, we're going to move on. Alright, so last up here is Remiel. This is the final monster in the event. Pretty solid monster. So let's go ahead and jump over his skills really quick and his stats and stuff like that, because that's what you do. Of course, his power, 3,531. Very high power stat. Very high power stat, so he's definitely leaning into the damage dealing area, of course. Life, 30,763, so a pretty tanky life stat again. Not like tank levels, but it's definitely not bad. Down to his speed, 3,432, so he's a little bit slower than the other 2 monsters, but obviously he makes up for that with some very heavy damage potential, right? Of course. His max gold per minute, 244, just to brush over. Again, the Celestial trait, you know that by now. Stun, Mega Stun, and Bleeding, nope. Alright, special skill, Remiel's Judgement. It's a 65 power AoE fire damage, and it also adds an Ignite and a Burn to the enemy team. That's a lot of damage, okay? That's huge amounts of damage over time. Ignition is a 20% per turn life reduction for 2 turns, and then burns 15% every turn. So, I mean, if you land this, it's pretty much game over, okay? They're gonna die. They'll burn out as long as you can just keep yourself from dying. You're fine, okay? Exactly. Now, jumping into his skills, we've got Heaven's Curse. AoE 45 power, special damage, and it applies special weakness to all the enemy monsters. That's not really going to help him much, because he doesn't have a lot of special-based attacks. Pretty much 0, actually, other than that. But that is a good supporting move as well, because it makes every one of your other monsters that have special-based attacks do more damage. So, it's pretty powerful. Alright, moving over, we've got Hell's Curse. This is a 40 power AoE, and this is going to apply fire weakness to all your enemies. So, again, more kind of a supporting role as well, but he does fire-based damage, so this actually supports his own damage as well. And since he hits pretty hard, that can get nasty. That can get really nasty. Alright, moving over, he's got the Anointed Blade. This is a single target, 60 power skill, and has a chance of stunning. It's only a 50% chance to stun, but it does hit pretty hard. Alright, so up to you if you're wanting that 50% chance of stun, or you could move down and take the Angelic Strike here for 70 power. 1 extra cooldown, has 2 turn cooldown, but there's no status effect attached to it. It's extra 10 power. So it's going to do a lot more damage, but you don't have the chance to stun. So it's kind of a toss-up there, which one you want to take. Alright, moving over, we have Angelic Preparation. This is going to be a self-buff with damage boost, precision, and a 25% heal. Pretty strong, okay? I do believe the damage boost lasts for 3 turns. Precision only lasts for 2, but damage boost is 3 turns, so it's pretty long time for a damage boost. Not to mention, if you have Hell's Curse on the enemies, they're taking extra damage anyway. Now you're buffing your own damage, hitting them with fire. You're going to hit some pretty nasty numbers. It can be disgusting, alright? Moving over, we've got the Prayer of Cleansing. This is another self-buff. It's kind of between these two, which one you want to take. This is going to give him double damage and a 25% heal, but it also removes negative status effects. Okay, so no precision on this one, and I believe the double damage only lasts for 1 turn. So, if it were me, I would probably lean toward the Angelic Preparation over the Prayer of Cleansing, but that's just me. You know, you could always, it's whatever you want to run, right? He does have another skill I didn't mention here because I couldn't fit it on the screen. But it's one of his first tier skills, but it's a special base damage, I believe a single target, but it gives them special and fire weakness to one monster. So it can be very good for attacking one really tanky monster or something like that. Whatevs. I just didn't have room to put it on here, so I figured I'd mention it now. Good timing, right? Of course it is. Alright, so Remiel. Remiel. What about Remiel? He's a fire monster, obviously, so he's going to fit in a book with a lot of people that have stuns, which makes his trait very useful. The only really crowd control that fire monsters have is stun, so he blocks that, and that's hot. Okay, ha ha ha, hot fire, lol. Anyways, getting back onto the subject here, he's definitely a damage dealer. Okay, definitely a damage dealer, but strangely enough, even with his super high power stat, you can run him as support. You can run this guy with 3 team speeds and pop the special weaknesses and the fire weaknesses on your enemy, along with doing some pretty decent damage, and let your teammates get the damage buff from that. Now, to me, with his 3,531 power stat, it's just a waste. It's almost a waste to run 3 team speed on him. So if you're going to run him in a supporting role, I would still recommend 1 strength to 2 team speed, just because that strength is going to really make him hit a little bit nicer numbers. And he's capable of putting out some nasty damage. I mean, self-buffs with damage boost on top of making enemies weak to your attacks. This guy's going to be an amazing fire damage dealer. Probably one of the best. I mean, he's up there with things like Shalinar, Tulikahu. He's up there in that range, in my opinion. I think he's a very solid monster, and one that when it comes out in the next coming months, unless you're spending money, that you probably should pick one up, because 1, he looks pretty baller as well, and 2, he's actually very useful. So, I believe that is everything about these guys, right? That's all the stuff we need to know? I believe so. Alright guys, so that is all the 3 new monsters in the event analyzed, where they fit, what they do, all that good jazz. So you guys are now informed of what you need to do, right? Right. So there we go. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future videos, don't forget to leave those in the down there, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you liked the video, please make sure you smash that thumbs up button and show your support, and I will see you guys next time.